Hey guys, I'm joined here by Skidd and Phuufy, better known as Michael and Jess.
Hello.
Hello.
The amazing creators behind Uberquest. So, hi guys, how you doing?
Doing alright.
Doing good. It was an early morning, late night.
Late night thing.
I was up late.
Yeah.
I can imagine, like, it's a busy time being a professional webcomic creator. And as of yesterday, it got all the more professional, because as of recording this yesterday, you actually reached your goal for the Uberquest Kickstarter. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, we did.
We're very grateful and completely surprised that we've been able to get that amount. So hopefully now we can go on to some stretch goals, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we're already 500 over the goal, so that we're still blown away. Like, every time we see a pledger, we're like, "What are you doing?"
Don't put your money there. But yeah, in less than a week, that's really impressive. It's almost like I told you something like that would happen. But hey, what do I know?
Like, I haven't heard enough of it over the entire week.
If there's one thing I'm good at, it's gloating and being a smug asshole.
Not just from you either.
Oh,
From another certain Scott guy.
Oh no. Well, if there's one, like, I don't think it's any, secret to anyone that you guys and me, we've been speaking for like over a year now. Something we're a little back and forth. And one thing I've noticed about you guys you are incredibly humble. Like, no one wants to read our comics. And then, like, boom, a lot of people are reading your comics. And a lot of people are supporting and pledging and stuff. So it's almost like you are wrong. Just kidding, that condescending stare.
Just, yeah, I guess that's a good quality to have.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Right
I don't like to be all in your face about things like you are. But no,
I don't think anyone is ever going to what's the word? No one's going to look down on you for being humble. It's more if you read Andrew Dobson stage where you're like, hey everybody, look at me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess just part of it comes from being that, we've only been doing this comic for almost 2 years now.
Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah,
so
and it's surprising to see how many people have enjoyed it so far. But we're grateful at the same time that so many people enjoy reading it, and we also have a lot of people to thank for giving us boosts and stuff too. So I mean, it's a lot in who you...
Bless you.
It's a lot in... Okay, bless you. It's a lot in all in who you know and how you put yourself out there. So
yeah, of course. Well, as I'm sure that you know, I asked a bunch of my viewers if they had any questions, and I think that we should just jump into those, unless you have something that you want to talk about before we do that.
One thing, I did check your video, and when you took a screenshot of our Kickstarter, when you made your video, we were at 3,100.
Yeah?
Yeah, the goal we were sitting at 3,100, and now we're at 8,500. So that's the difference that you wanted to know.
Of course, like, not 100% of those are from the webcomic relief, but let's hope that most of them are. And to you guys out there, really, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
The only thing I'd like to say is, a big thank you to Dave and Liz Lilly, who has been a tremendous help through this entire process. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be having the Kickstarter, and they're the ones that's going to be publishing us. And we're just really, really grateful for their help.
Yeah, David's been there by my side the entire time, just like, yo. I'm like, yeah, guess what? What? You're almost at 100 pledgers. Yeah.
How about that?
And then he's like, so, you know what you're going to do? Like, what are you talking about? look, bookmarks, blah 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 blah. He starts going on, starts describing to me the process that we're going to be going through, and he's been a huge help. Like, seriously, thank you, David and Liz.
A lot of love is going out to David and Liz. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah, that's adorable. So, well, why don't we start off with a question from David Lilly?
There you go.
Oh my God, I'm segueing like a boss here. Anyway, your decision to create Uberquest resulted in some anonymous criticism attacking and invalidating your work. Did any of it help you improve, and did any of it hurt your efforts? What advice would you give to other creators who may go through similar experiences?
Okay. As far as that goes, yeah, you can't please everybody. And sometimes it can be a little discouraging if you come across some harsh criticisms or just somebody just flat out, hating on your comic or something. But you got to push through it. You got to do it for you. If you enjoy making it, then that enjoyment, I think, will pass on to your readers as well. And that's a little bit of that included in some of the advice that I would give, other potential webcomic creators.
And I don't think the anonymous criticism was necessarily bad, because there were a few people that did have some valid points about like pacing and stuff like that. Which, of course, this is our first webcomic, and when we started, we didn't know anything about making comics. So, I was like online looking up all sorts of tutorials and even asking you advice and just trying to get an idea, what are we doing? So, there was some valid criticism, but at the same time, you've got to kind of
take it with a grain of salt.
You got to take it with a grain of salt with, the more harsh things, because it's like, you won't please everybody, and it's not a story for everybody, and so,
That's something else I want to say is if you are creating a webcomic or a story of some kind, and you do get some criticisms, to definitely take them into consideration, but don't completely change your story over it or anything.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
don't want to try and be like please everybody, because then you'll please no one. So.
Oh, that's a good one.
Something else that David talked to me about. He said that I'm not going to be able to word this as good as David, but he talked to me once. And he said, for those that are given like really harsh criticisms, just bashing on your work or whatever, just think about it as, these people, there's a set of tools, like creators' tools, and you have to learn how to use those tools correctly. Just because you know what the tools are doesn't mean you know how to use them. That, a reader can come in and be like, okay, here's this tool, you need to do this, and it's not going to help if they don't know how to use the tools correctly. And that's the best way I can think of repeating what he told me, and I agreed with it. So, yeah. But yeah, that's that.
that's the answer for that question.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no. Hayden Malion asks questions for use. Do you intend on making other stories like or unlike Uberquest?
Yeah, I think maybe in the future we might do more stories, more comics. We definitely enjoy doing comics. I mean, it's been a very fulfilling experience. So, it's kind of hard because with Uberquest, it's such a long going project. It's going to have to go on for at least a few more years. So it's hard to think like, okay, that's going to end and then we're going to start on something else. We have tried doing some side comics. You have the Mastervis comic, but it's not written by me, so it's not exactly a joint project.
Yeah, that one's just a little fun side thing that I worked with another friend that just messaged me, by the way. Weird. But as far as other comic ideas, I have some other comic ideas, and it just requires us getting the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a creator, like you can get so many ideas. Like, ooh, I want to do this story, or wait, I got an idea for this kind of story. And it's like, you have to kind of prioritize and really think about it. You can't just like go on every little ideal whim you have. But
Yeah.
I think in the next comic we do, we'll have a lot more insight as to what we're doing. So that'll be, good.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd have like a ton of comic beginnings with no endings.
Almost like my Let's Plays.
Hey, I've been pushing you for that FF7 one.
You've been doing nothing but. I'm coming home from a day at work, I can log on to Skype, it's like, yo, when's the next Final Fantasy 7?
Yep, that's me.
Hayden also asks, what do you think of fan art pairings of your characters?
Fan art pairings of our characters?
Yeah.
Oh, we love any kind of fan art we get.
Yeah, fan art's great.
We enjoy seeing people's headcanons, basically. It's always interesting to see what people think of not just pairings between characters, but what's going to happen in the story and what a character's
fan theories.
Yeah, fan theories and stuff.
Oh yeah, I can imagine those.
It's kind of interesting because you create something and you put it out there, and then the fans kind of take it and do what they will with it. So they kind of almost make it their own. So it's really interesting seeing that done with other fandoms, and then for your own creation to have that. So yeah, it's very enjoyable.
Fan art. Oh my goodness. Hold on.
It's fine.
What does he want?
Don't know.
What? You need to calm down, buddy. You might have to edit some of this out. I'm sorry.
We'll fix it in post.
Okay, let me see if I can get this out. Okay, fan art doesn't just include drawings and stuff. I actually have these just to show you. We got these from a really nice couple at a convention. They made these cute little figurines for us.
That's amazing.
Sesame, obviously. And then we also have this one. This is the other one that we have. Hold on. This one's
Kibbles.
from Kibbles. And those are we love stuff like this. So if you don't have to do any kind of fan art or anything like that for us, but we do appreciate it a lot. So thank you to everyone who has come up with your fan theories and given us some fan arts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've received a little under 10 fan drawings, and it's fucking best.
Every time it still blows you away every time, doesn't it? Yeah, just like us.
9 times out of 10 I get it on my phone while I'm at work, and I literally have to stop the entire day just to go, yo! Post it on Facebook, Twitter, send it to friends, send it to my mom. It was like, who the fuck is that? Last question from Hayden is, would you ever collaborate with other creative individuals? What does it mean? You collaborated with me. I'm not a creative, apparently. Okay.
Oh. Yes. Yeah. Obviously, we're doing it right now. But I guess that could also mean, we just explained previously, I'm working on a side comic called Mousevis, and I'm working on that with a buddy of ours named Zivic. So, bless you. So, if we have time for it, if we can, get the time to work on other things, then we love collaborating with other people like that.
That was a nice and easy question.
Yeah.
Cloudy Days asks, questions for Skidd and Phuufy. Why furries? Is there any significance to the animals that they play, or is there not any at all? Either is fine, I just want to know for my sake.
Why furries? I don't... This is an interesting question. I I guess we've always just kind of found an appeal to those kind of characters. Growing up watching cartoons, a lot of cartoons, have the anthropomorphic animals and stuff. And I don't know, I guess we were a part of the fandom before we started the comic, so it was just sort of a natural sort of progression. But I think also using furry characters, you can have a little bit more variety. With a human, there's only so much you can do, and so much variety. But, with a furry character, with any kind of animal, you can have, ears or horns or tails or wings or whatever. So I think that, makes it a little more visually interesting. And, you could, like what we do all sorts of different colors with the fur and eyes and hair. So it's an interesting medium to work with. And as for the significance with their characters, with the animals, we try not to, make it so, say with Sesame, all cat characters act like she does or whatever. But I think some animal characteristics do play a part into how their personalities were formed. Like, for instance, with Kibble, she's like a dog, so like she's really friendly and nice and usually pleasant to most people. And sometimes it was just like little things with a saying. Like for Farron, originally we were going to have him as like a dog character, but then we came up with the idea, pack rat, of course, and then it just kind of fit. So. Sorry, did you want to say
No,
something?
you got it. I'm just gonna go.
All right.
Welcome to the Jess and Rice interview.
No. Everything she said is true. I think that also has to deal with your depend on your style, like the style that you draw in. Like with humans, like you said, there's only so much you can do unless you have a really unique style. To like draw the characters with like long faces or like short and chubby faces or something like that, and I'm just not good at drawing humans. So, but I do enjoy drawing the animal characters. A big inspiration of mine from my childhood days was Don Bluth. So I love this work that he did. He worked on movie. In case you don't know who that is,
you can see them. Okay, great.
He worked on movies like Secret of Nim and Rockadoodle and Land Before Time, stuff like that. And he's one of my huge inspirations, and I just kind of like drew furries because of him. So.
Okay. Like I have like a rather infamous relationship with furries at this point. And I think that I have also come to realize that, well, you can do a lot more with furries more easily than you can with humans. Like there's more of this variation and stuff. And I think the moment I realized that is probably where I just started going, you know what? Fuck it. It's fine. So, yeah. Claudia also asked, what's the difference between joining a comic site like Catbox and starting a comic on your own site, say like Dreamkeepers or Star Warriors?
I think it's a lot harder to start your own website because you have to kind of build up traffic for it and get your name out there, and of course buy and pay for the hosting and the maintaining of that website, unless of course you have like a webmaster or something that does it for you. The luxury we had was we knew some people, specifically Shallow, who was friends with Skidd or Mike, and they had talked before, and he was like, well, I was kind of interested in joining, the Catbox, which is a collective of a bunch of different comics, and we went through an application process, and I think they like voted on it, and they said, okay, sure, and so, at least with the Catbox, that has like, some name, it's kind of well known due to the other comics and some name recognition. So, and then we don't have to maintain the site either. So we just upload comics.
Yeah.
So there's that too. Oh, okay. Last question from Claudia Days is, will you explain Mason's heterochromia iridium?
Explain Mason's heterochromia iridium.
Oh, okay.
Is what the question was.
It's just a genetic thing. Like some people have blue eyes or green eyes or whatever. It's the same reason people are born with it. There's no significance.
Yeah,
to it.
there's really no significance. It's just something that happens even in real life. So
it's not like he's a chosen someone from some kind of legend. Oh, okay, great.
No, it's nothing like that. Yeah. Sorry to those who are when basically become like evil overlord.
That's my head canon.
That's a sad theory. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Toxodentrail, who Hugo Junstrand, who made the amazing Uberquest theme. Let's be honest here. How did the process for the character designs go? Like, for example, choices of colors and silhouettes to match their personalities.
Okay. A lot of people don't know this because every time like someone sees the comic, I hear a lot of, "Oh, it's Skidd's comic," and really the characters were made by most of the characters, like the three main female protagonists, were made by her in 2007.
Yeah, I made them years ago, and I really liked the designs, and I had like a little concept, but I never did anything with it. And it was like, man, I really wish, I would draw them sometimes. It was like, man, I really wish I would, do something with this. And it wasn't until January 2014 you asked me like, hey, you want to do a webcomic? Okay, what about? Well, I have this old ideal, with Sesame and Claire and them, and I told him about Uberquest, and he's like, perfect, we'll do that.
That's as spontaneous as it was, like, seriously.
But basically how that went is I would I had like kind of a base design and some sketches and stuff, and then I would hand them over to him, and he would kind of refine it and draw it out, and then color. I don't know, I just pretty much just chose what looked nice or kind of popped out. I don't think there was really much specifics onto why they were the colors they were or anything, just what looked good.
Yeah, most of the time whenever we were creating characters for the comic, it's just trial and error until we get it to look the way we want it to. Usually there's no reasoning behind what we choose as a species or a color or anything like that. We just come up with what looks nice in our heads, and then we're like, okay, we'll go with that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hugo also asks, also speaking of pets, did any of your pets have any influence on the characters?
No.
No, I mean, I did used to have a cat named Felix that kind of looked a little bit like Sesame. He wasn't purple though; he was like gray. But
I'd be a little worried if he was purple. But no.
Yeah.
No, we don't. I've never done that with like any characters that I've made. I've never based them off of any pets of mine. I've never done that.
Actually, we could show you our pets real quick, and you can see how they don't.
I think your dog went around in the background earlier.
Oh, what?
There she is. Hold on.
Oh, she's laying down right now.
Resting.
This is Mitzi.
One of them.
Oh.
This is Mitzi. She's a Chihuahua / rat terrier mix.
Yeah. She's got little spots.
She's the older one. Here, I'll go get the other one.
You want to go get the other one?
Yeah, I'll go get the one here.
All right. Sorry.
You're not gonna fetch a crocodile like David and Liz, are you?
No. Although that would be kind of cool.
I still
have.
Be
the best thing to have around.
This is our newest one. This is Kiko.
Oh, hi Kiko. Oh.
She's still a puppy.
Yeah.
She's looking at me like, "What are you doing?"
What am I doing here?
But yeah, that's Mitzi and Kiko. They're both the same Chihuahua Terrier mixes.
Yeah.
Those are adorable.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, we don't. But like I said, we don't base any of our characters off of our pets or anything like
that. Night to Dreams asks, what made you decide to make a webcomic?
I guess we kind of answered that sort of in the...
Well, you answered how it came to be, not why.
Well, before we were doing a lot of commission work, and when you usually do commission work, you're drawing other people's characters, and I guess after a while that got... Hello. after a while that got a little tiresome, so we were like, we want to draw our own characters. We want to do our own story. I mean, that was the reason you start drawing in the first place, is so you can draw your own stuff. So, we decided that, that would be a good way. We heard about Patreon, and we're like, well, maybe we can try this out and see how it works, and I guess,
Yeah, because, like she said, doing commissions and stuff was our job and how we were paying bills, and it's still we still do that to help pay bills. But we wanted to do something of our own with our own characters, but we were thinking if we do the webcomic, we won't be able to make anything off of it either, and it's tough to get the ball rolling with webcomics. Getting an audience and a viewer base. So that's what she mentioned. We looked at Patreon and we were like thinking, well, maybe we can use this to help us, do the webcomic, and so far we've had a good amount of like really loyal fans and patrons to help us continue the webcomic, and as you see, we've got it a successful Kickstarter now because of it.
Yeah, we're lucky because a lot of people that start doing webcomics, they don't make any money off of it for years and years and years. So I kind of feel grateful that we joined, or we started doing a webcomic when we did, because, we were able to use Patreon and stuff like that, whereas people before us, they had to rely on like advertisements and stuff like that to get by.
I'm also going to take this time again to thank David and Liz Lilly, because, he took notice to our comic, and he was like, the first message I got from David, the first message I got from him, he wanted me to review his comic, and he sent me like a copy of one of his books. And I was like, okay, sure. The second message I got from him was, Uberquest is awesome sauce. and from there on, he was just like, I'm a huge fan of your work, blah, blah, and I was like so humbled by that. But another person I want to take the time to thank is Tom Fishbach, the creator of Two Kinds, the webcomic Two Kinds. Our comic blew up pretty quick because he gave us a big shout out on his page. He wrote down, all caught up with Two Kinds. Why don't you go check out this awesome comic Uberquest? And that helped us a lot, get a lot of viewers. Some of his fan base moved over and stuff. So I just wanted to take that time to thank him real quick.
And of course, all the people at Catbox.
And yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound like a dick. I'm not forgetting anybody. There's a lot of people that we need to thank, but it's too many to name.
Yeah, there's
a lot of help.
Quite a force behind you.
Yes, I mean we've got to thank you too. So
yeah, of course.
Don't mention it. Nights to Dream also asks, when coming up with Uberquest, how did you go starting it? Did it take a long time or was it rather easy?
I wouldn't say it was easy.
It definitely wasn't easy. I think the hardest part is actually just starting a webcomic, because you gotta have a story written out, unlike us, and you gotta start working on the pages and start gaining a fan base, viewers and stuff. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, we had kind of like a rough ideal going on for a while, but we didn't have the story fully written out, which is a huge mistake. Do not do that. I think some of the earlier pages suffered a little bit from that, but I think the hardest thing, like you said, was getting started and committing to it. And we tried really, really hard last year to get out as many pages as possible. We were doing like twice weekly updates, full color comic pages, so that was kind of tough. So, and
just stay committed to it. Have some self-discipline and tell yourself to work. Get up every morning, treat it like a job.
He also asks, or she also, there's gotta be a female-male thing going. Okay. Judging by the RPG roleplay elements, I'm going to guess one of you has played Dungeons and Dragons before. If so, any funny stories you'd like to share that may or may not be relevant to the comic?
I played Dungeons and Dragons like one time. When I was very young, I was probably like 6 years old because my older brother and sister and cousins used to play it, and I was like, I want to play, and so they let me play a little bit, and that was about it. I tried to get into it when I was a little bit older, but I never could find anyone to play with, so sorry.
I never played it. I wanted to, but back whenever I wanted to play it, it was the devil's game.
Oh yeah. The evil game.
It was the evil game.
Oh no.
And I wasn't allowed to play it. The closest to Dungeons and Dragons I've ever played is probably just been video games. So,
well, like you were huge into Final Fantasy growing up. Final
Yeah.
Fantasy.
I don't believe it. I can't see that be a thing at all.
Ask him. Yeah, I was huge into Final Fantasy. I do have a pretty funny story regarding a game called Dungeon Siege. That one I was playing with my cousin, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is a scenario I wanted to do in the comic at some point. Spoilers.
Giving away our comic.
It's not like story plotline spoilery. It's just something silly. I had a dwarf warrior character, and he had like a human archer or something like that. And we were wandering around. It's one of those games that like has a humongous world, and you can go around and explore like tons and tons and tons of stuff. And we happened to stumble upon this cave, and there was like this. It was just like a walkway. It looked like a cliff. Like if you stepped over the edge, you'd fall. And it was just like a cliff that went out like in this arc. And I walked out, and there was like a bunch of treasure chests on the end. And I was like, "Dude, let's go get these!" Because like it was like a LAN party thing. He was sitting next to me, playing on his computer, and I was playing on mine. And I was like, "Dude, let's get these treasure chests. Let's. This is gonna be awesome." And I tried to open them all, and they were all saying, these chests are magically locked. These chests are magically locked. I'm like, I wonder why it's magically locked. And I had my camera view like turned, and suddenly he starts yelling at me, "Dude, Skidd, run, run, run!" I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I turned my view around, and suddenly there was like a dragon looking at me like face to face, and I was just like, oh god. I ran out, and like we both got out of there without dying, luckily. But we stood there, and we could see the dragon like through the room that we were standing in, our safe distance away, and we were like, "That was nuts! I want to fight him. Yeah, let's go, let's do this. Let's go fight him." It took every single potion in our inventory to kill that stupid thing. It didn't even reward us very well, and all the chests sucked.
And that's the moral of the story.
And that's yeah. But that is unrelated. It was just a stupid little story. I hope that's enough of a story to share with you.
Well, it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons, but it was an RPG, so...
Yeah.
What was the hardest part with coming up with the world for your characters?
Hardest part?
The hardest part, I would say, is that whenever you're creating a story and creating a world, that's it. You're creating everything from nothing, from scrap. I would say it's easier to make a fan comic on something else because the world's already built for you, and there's already the lore there and all that stuff. So building making your own like personal story, you got to make everything fresh.
Well, with some people, a lot of comics do, they'll just set it in like a modern setting or it's very close to, reality, and they just like throw in their characters and maybe one or two things. But with a a fantasy world, I think coming up with all the geographical locations, coming up with laws, like how magic works. I actually have a lot of trouble with how all the special powers work, and what the benefits are, what are the drawbacks, how do they use them, and stuff like that. That was kind of hard, and you helped with the magic.
The magic system was my idea.
Yeah. So,
It was me.
but I mean, it's lots of fun too. I kind of enjoy doing all the little different like wildlife and stuff, and
Yeah, that part is fun because we didn't want to make it so that like there's these furries walking around, and then there's like pet dogs and like cows in the pasture and just other animals, and it's like that doesn't make any sense. So we created our own like wildlife, kind of based on like mixed with like insects and plant life and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun doing that.
Awesome. And the last question from Nights to Dreams is, what is your favorite character to write, and what is your favorite to draw?
Which is your favorite?
Well, my favorite up to now has been Farron, because there's just up to now there's just so much mystery behind him and like why he does what he does in the comic. And if you've read up to now, sorry to your viewers, if you've read up to the comic's current point, you know that he has a magical creature that is his bag.
I think it's page 119.
Page 119. Yeah, we're at 119 so far. Yes. And he's been the most fun to write because we've had to come up with like all these little things about him and we still have more to reveal for him, but I think he's been my favorite to write. My favorite to draw, Kibbles. I have to say Kibbles. I get requested her a lot too from like a lot of my viewers. A lot of people like Kibbles, and I guess I've drawn her so much I've gotten used to it, and she's a lot of fun to draw. What about you?
I really like writing for almost all the characters.
That's cheating.
I think Farron's a lot of fun just because he's kind of a very flawed character and gets into a lot of trouble and kind of mysterious, so that's kind of fun. Kyler's a lot of fun. Sesame. I really like writing for Draven. I know we haven't really revealed much about him yet, but he is a fun one.
Yeah.
And for drawing, I really like drawing Sesame and Dante.
The strong female characters. Okay, so the next person on the chopping block is the Amp. I think he's a person you guys already know.
Yeah, we know him. Hi, Amp.
Hi. Question 1: what was the inspiration behind Uberquest?
What was the inspiration behind Uberquest?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up playing lots of video games like Zelda, Pokemon. We also I played a lot of Yoshi's Island.
Final Fantasy.
World of Warcraft.
I bet you didn't know that.
Geez, now that I'm wanting to think about it, I can't.
Lots of RPG type games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know one of Jess's favorite game series is Pikmin.
Oh yeah.
If you couldn't tell from the little reference we did with Proto and the little mandrakes, that was a huge Pikmin reference. But yeah, a lot of inspiration comes from those video games that we played when we were kids: Final Fantasy, Yoshi's Island, Pikmin, World of Warcraft.
Some movies too, of course. Another big inspiration for Uberquest was we were watching Game of Thrones, and that helped.
Yeah, Game of
Yeah.
Thrones is a big inspiration for us too. We love watching that.
It won't be as
But-
graphic as Game of Thrones, I hope.
I don't.
Well, we've already had a very graphic moment, like in
Yeah.
Sesame's Past.
Well, yeah, but it's not Game of Thrones graphic.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be quite as graphic as that, but I mean, it will have some kind of harsh points.
We'll
like
have,
everything.
yeah, we'll have some dark, harsh points, but nothing like baby killing
Yeah.
scenes or anything like that. But yeah, those were a lot of our inspiration, where a lot of our inspirations came from, and kind of going back to one of the previous questions, you know, how I said that she created Sesame and Claire and Kibbles back in like 2007 to 2008. The original story for them was just a silly adventures, like quest adventures, mostly like Sesame, Claire and Kibbles just fighting like monsters, fighting slimes and stuff like that. It was just meant to be silly and
Like a gag a day comic.
like a gag a day comic kind of thing, and that's whenever, you know, I mentioned like, oh, let's do a webcomic, and she was just like, well, I have this old thing, Uberquest, and immediately I was like, yes, I've always wanted to do like an RPG like questing comic like that, fighting slimes and that's where a lot of our inspiration came from, is video games and movies like those.
Well, I think I'm not the only one who has brought this up, but I think the whole Claire coming to that world is like, I just saw Chrono Trigger in furry form. and Chrono Trigger is an amazing game in every fucking regard, so that was only a good thing.
Excellent. That's good, considering I've never played it.
Really?
I'm serious. It's on my to-do list for my channel.
And you're on my ass for Final Fantasy VII?
Don't worry. I will play the shit out of it whenever I get time for it, okay? I promise.
Oh,
It is on my to-do list for my channel.
Your face is going to be so red once you play that. Okay. Question 2. Did any video games and other comics influence the fantasy genre within Uberquest? I think we more or less just answered that.
Yeah, we just covered that.
Question 3. How long does it take you two to create one page?
Years. No, it feels like a long time sometimes. It used to, like, last year, we just had one child.
Yeah.
And we were doing the twice weekly updates, and we'd get pages done usually within 1 to 2 days.
About 3 days.
Well, yeah, 1 to 2 to 3 days. And now we have 2 kids.
It takes about 4 days.
So it takes about 4 to 5 days to complete one page. It's tough, but we're devoted to keep at least once a week.
Yeah.
I do believe in America you have a quote going, it takes a village.
Yeah.
We don't have a counterpart to that in Denmark, so that's probably why I remember it. Question 4. Any plans for an Uberquest video game?
I would love to have an Uberquest video game. That would be so sweet. But the problem is, we don't know how to make video games. We are not programmers. I don't know nothing about it. So, I mean, if someone wanted to make it, it would have to be someone besides us. All we could do is probably just draw concept art.
The closest to a video game that I'd be able to make like myself would be an RPG Maker game.
Yeah.
And that's the closest I'd be able to make, which is kind of fitting, RPG.
Yeah.
But, I did see, now this is a little bit of a shout out to someone who I don't even know really, but I did see this person working on an RPG Maker game that includes characters from all sorts of webcomics, and they're including Sesame.
Oh.
And I think it's a game called Threadbound.
That's
I don't know the name exactly. It's called Threadbound or something. It's like this person's adventure through different webcomics. They have Dreamkeepers in there. They have Uberquest in there. They have Two Kinds in there. It's interesting seeing people take our characters and do stuff with that. And we'd love to see other games made by other people. That'd be awesome.
Look forward to Uberquest card.
But yeah. Sorry, what would you say?
I just said look forward to Uberquest card in 2018.
Until then, yeah, we don't know how to make games, but it would be cool to see it.
Okay. Question 5. If you wanted to go back and change one page, what page would it be?
Just one page? Goodness. We've had this discussion before. We usually talk about the beginning of the comic. But as much as I sometimes think about the beginning of the comic and how it kind of it didn't start off good. Whenever we first started, we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We didn't have a story, and you can probably tell. But as bad as I think those pages are, I actually think if I could change one page, it would be the page where we decided to make it so that Kibbles actually did murder this guy. There's a part where she gets punched, and there's ever since we did that, we've been because our original intention was to show the viewers that this is a real world. This is not a video game world, because we had a lot of confusion about that whenever we first started the comic. Everybody was like, this is a video game world. If your character dies, they'll just respawn. No worries. And our intention with that was to show that, yes, people die. If they're dead, they're dead. And we wanted to show that, that joke that we made in the beginning where Kibbles turned that guy to ash, he's dead. And we had to rewrite and bust our heads over a lot of things regarding that page. We had to rework a lot of things. It was very difficult. I think we're at a good point now. It's finally a lot of it's finally passed, but it was hard as hell getting through that.
Yeah, we'll be touching upon that again soon.
Yeah, that'll be touched upon again soon. The Guild Bros will
they shall return.
We'll touch upon those guys later, but don't worry, we haven't forgotten anything. There's no loose ends that are not going to be left, tied or anything.
I mean, untied.
Or yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Sure, go.
Cat Comics, it's both with an X and a Z, Studios asks, since starting Uberquest, what things have you learned in terms of storytelling and writing?
Lots.
A lot.
You go first. Just while I was working on some of the beginning pages and stuff, this chick was sitting next to me, on her computer, looking up everything she could about story writing and storytelling and asking people. I'm sure you remember. She was getting as much information as she could possibly hold, and then telling me about it too. So I think you should start this.
Right. I'm the writer.
Well,
I'm just one of the writers. I think I learned a lot that I didn't know. I had very little writing. I had very little writing experience before I started writing Uberquest. So I had only done, little stories on the side and some role playing in the past and stuff. So, I think story structure, like the act system, like Act 1, Act 2, beginning, middle, end, and how to structure that all, like to the pacing of that, like you're supposed to, when you write, you're supposed to have, ups and downs, and that, as you said before, the ups and downs is what makes the drama in the story. Learning about character tropes, learning about how to create characters and how to layer them, and how to write for how to write a variety of characters, and like having to switch in between those characters and how they think is kind of challenging too. Sorry, I'm getting a little.
I'm trying to think. I've been trying to think this entire time while she's talking. Like she said, when I first started this, I mean, there's common knowledge about writing, obviously, but I didn't really know like the deep ends of it, and it just, I guess, with practice comes, skill, and that's something that's helped us a lot too. It's just going with what we had, instead of like stopping and turning around and rewriting it and starting the comic over, doing reboots. We've just gone with what we've started with, and I guess a lot of that correction and
hammering out the details.
Out the details and stuff has given us a lot of practice. I mean, we're still nowhere near perfect, obviously, but we're hoping we're showing some improvement. We're hoping that everybody's enjoying it.
Well, I, for one, can easily see improvement, so...
Thank you.
Cat Comics Studios also asks, what aspects do you think you've done well, and which one do you wish you've done differently?
I think we've done all right with like character design and coming up with certain parts of the world building and stuff. I really like the magic system and the technology and things. Things I think we could have that we didn't do so well on. Trying to get better at backgrounds, trying to get better with writing, perspectives. Of course, that's more kind of like your end of the thing since you did most.
Right. I feel like sometimes a lot of my poses seem very stiff. I'm still like trying to learn how to do like more action poses and stuff, and just make the angles look better in the comic panels themselves. Something else I try to make sure of is that the pages aren't overfilled with text.
Oh yeah, that was something I should answer in the other one. You have to cut down dialogue when you're doing a comic. You can't have like a huge paragraph because you're not, writing a book. You're writing a comic, so you have to learn how to do it in little sections and make it where it's not like tedious to read.
Yeah, we made a mistake like that once with the comic already. People still enjoyed it. We still had a lot of people really enjoy that page because it was like a really interesting part of the comic. But I look back at the page and I'm like, oh man.
Oh no.
We probably could have like split that up into like more pages.
Mm-hmm. And like layering the text bubbles. You wouldn't think that would be hard, but the position and all that.
The page in question I'm talking about is the page of Claire's backstory when she's little and her parents are in an argument. There's speech bubbles, like a speech bubble here, then there's a bubble here, then like the line's going over here, and there's a bubble here, and it's like, oh man, we could have done that so much better. And we've learned a lot from that too. So that's something I feel we could have improved, that we could improve on, and I think we have. But also something that's really difficult is pacing in a comic, because you can ask her. The entire time we've been working on this comic, there's a lot of times, yeah, I'm sorry, but there's been a lot of times where we've been wanting to get to some parts of the story. We're like, we got to hurry through this because we want to get to this part of the story. We want, because it's really interesting and it's it'll show a lot of backstory and it'll make people go, oh, that's what's going on. But you can't do that. Like I said, I've been telling her and reminding myself this entire time that this is being made. Kickstarter is successful. This is being made for a book. This is something that, you know, if you're holding in your hands and you're reading, you're going to be sitting there reading a page and moving straight onto the next page, reading the next page. You know, it's going to be like one page after the next, unless you had to take a break or something and put a bookmark in it and go off somewhere. So you got to pace it according to how you think the reader's going to sit there and read it from page to page, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
The hard part about that is it's a weekly webcomic. And sometimes the pacing can seem a little slow for the people reading it one page a week.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to sit there and grab the book and read a page and be like, okay, I'll come back to this in a week, and you put it up or something. So that's a really difficult part of the comic making process, and it's something that I feel that we're getting better at and improving upon. So, there.
Garrett Simpson asks, what makes a story work for you, Skidd and Phuufy, and what are your favorite expressions and poses to work with on your lively characters?
That's another thing I'm improving upon. Regarding the previous question is expressions and poses. Some of my favorite expressions actually are in some of the recent pages where the Farron's bag scrab comes in, and I've just been sitting there and I'm trying to draw Sesame with like a really like whoa, look, and those expressions are a lot of fun to make. The over exaggerated ones.
Yeah, the cartoon ones are a lot of fun.
Those are a lot of fun to mess with.
Yeah.
What was the first part of the question?
Yeah.
What makes a story work for you?
What makes the story work for us?
I think, just it's a really fun environment to write in. You can kind of do so many different things. Like, hey, I want to have I don't know, a orc or something show up, or if you want to have like a cockatrice or a manticore, whatever, show up in the story, you can do that, or you can, a bag will turn into a monster like the mimic, and it's just a lot of fun, and you can also go and have so many different like worlds, like you can go and have this really cool like ruined temple, or you can go and you can do like a huge canyony desert place or whatever. And I think that's what I like about the fantasy genre.
Yeah, that's what works for us, is being able to have fun with like the settings and the lore of our world and stuff.
But I actually think the question was, like, if you were reading a different book or watching a movie or something, what in that will have to be great for you to pay attention to it, to like it? Like, what's the most important thing there?
Sorry, misunderstood the question.
It could also be that I misunderstood it.
The most important thing, I think, would be the characters, being invested in them, having someone fun to watch, someone that you enjoy seeing go on this journey, someone that's interesting. I think when it comes down to it, most stories, the characters are the most important thing.
I agree. Characters, and I hate to say this and sound like a rude asshole, but something for me as well, webcomic related, is the style of art. There's just certain types of styles that I can like look at, and I'm just like, that doesn't look eye appealing to me, and sometimes you can work through that and get a really good story out of it and be like, okay, you know, that's good. But I think that also has a big part in it for me personally, at least. It's got to look fairly nice, at least,
and interesting.
And interesting. But yeah, characters definitely. If you're sitting here and you're reading a comic or a story, and you're not invested in this character and you don't like him, then why are you reading it?
Yeah, or you can't tell them apart. That's another thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Looking in your direction, Project Second. Mr. Cobalt67 asks, if given the chance, would you rather have your comic be made into a cinematic universe or a television series?
I've been asked this question a lot. Like, I've actually had a lot of people. Well, asked in a different way. I've had a lot of people ask me, so when's the Uberquest TV series coming out? When are you going to make an Uberquest animation? And I'm like, I'm not experienced in animation at all. I don't know animation. I mean, if I did, if I had the resources and time to learn animation and worked with like a bunch of other animators to make an animation, then I guess television would be the answer. Because I think that would be really cool to have like an animated Uberquest like cartoon or something. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think a television show would probably be better than a movie. I mean, a movie would be kind of grand and, you know, the budgets are usually bigger and stuff, but
the problem with
I think
movies,
you can do like a bigger story with a TV series.
Yeah, with a movie, like, okay, going back to Game of Thrones, can you imagine if Game of Thrones was nothing but just an hour and a half or 2 hour movie?
Or we can take an infamous example, Avatar: The Last Airbender movie.
Oh God,
that was an entire series crammed into one movie. That was
You don't want to do that. That's the problem with movies is you've got a time limit, and you got to compress everything into this small amount of time. And I don't know about you guys, but me personally, I can't stand to go into a movie theater and sit there for 3 hours. I want to go in the theater, watch a movie that's an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours long, get out and go. I don't want to sit there and like, a good example, just be looking up at the screen and be like, hey, a good example would be, now I'm probably gonna get some flack for this, but one of the new Batman movies, Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, I hated that movie. I hated it. I couldn't stand it, and one of the reasons why is because I went to the theaters to see it, and my ass was hurting by the end of the movie. I was like, I am so tired of sitting here watching this damn thing, and it doesn't help that the movie was slow too. Like, it was really slow, and there's a lot of talking. But yeah, I guess that's my point. Is like, a movie can only be so long, and a TV series you can make. Like, we could do an episode and then do another episode which continues the story, and do another episode which continues the story. So yeah, television would be the answer. Sorry for dragging that question out.
Mr. Cobalt actually also asks a follow-up question to that, which is, what voice actors or live-action actors would you want to play which of your characters?
Oh boy. We also get this question asked a lot.
I think I asked it once on a stream.
You might have. She knows all the answers. I don't. There's a lot of times I don't remember the characters that she chose, that like the actors that she chose.
Well, like, there's one thing for voice actors, but like if they were like human actors and there was live action with human actors.
Oh, is that the question, or is it?
You know what? I think we should just stick to voice actors.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, I want to see Nicole Kidman dressed up as Phuufy. That'll be no, not Phuufy, Kibbles. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard finding an actor to fit like the certain different looks. But as for voice actors, I think Sesame would probably like something like Jennifer Lawrence. There's an actor called Chase Crawford that I think would do a really good voice for Farron. I think for Kyler, what was the guy's name?
I don't remember.
He was the guy that played Loki in the Avengers movies and
Thor.
In Thor too.
Yeah.
Tom
Hiddleston?
Hiddleston.
Is that right? No, I don't remember.
Oh.
Sorry for butchering that. I don't remember exactly, but I also get told a lot that there's been a debate over this. For Sesame and Kibbles, everybody wants Tara Strong to play the voice for either Sesame or Kibbles.
Of course.
She's a great
Because she's a great voice actor. She has such a wide range of voices. But is there anyone else you can think of, like for Claire, maybe?
There was someone, but I honestly can't remember the name of the voice actress. It was like, what was that one chick in Borderlands that was like a kind of gadget person, like a
the one that left all the journals, right?
No. It was like a new class they added in Borderlands 2.
Oh,
the Necromancer.
Yeah, Necromancer.
The Necromancer? Was that it?
Yeah, but I forget. But the lady that did that voice was, I think,
would have been a good Claire.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
But I don't know the name. And as for the other characters, I haven't really went around and listened to a ton of voices and found one that was like, aha, that's perfect. So, but yeah.
Jeremy Irons would have to be a voice of something.
And John St. John would have to voice one of the female characters.
Yeah, I'd have to think about like a voice for Mason. Mason was kind of the character that I brought into the comic, actually. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. But I mean, that's all we can really think of right now. It'd be difficult to think of actual like actors for the comic, but voices are a little bit easier.
Yeah, I actually think that's all the questions we had.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay then. Cool. Is there any questions you had?
Well, the problem with this, like the only real other interview that I've had was, of course, with David and Liz Lilly, and the problem with that is I had not talked at all with David and Liz prior to this. I've talked with you guys for over a year, so every time I've had a question, I've just been like, hey, how about this? And then gotten the answer. So I don't really know. Where do you hope that that Uberquest will end one day? Like, what is the big dream for Uberquest?
Goodness. Well, what from the story that we have written out now, Uberquest will, if we can keep it going, and if there's still interest in it, Uberquest will last. How many years did we say?
Well, I think it would be about 5 years, but I think the question he was asking was what was the big,
Well, I know. I was just just something like
the setup,
right?
Yeah. The comic will last for a while, but I guess the dream is to just have like a full set of books that we can have, sitting on our bookshelf. Uberquest Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, however many volumes we get, and have people actually, if we're going to conventions, have people actually come up to us and be like, hey, wow, are you guys the creators of Uberquest? I love reading it. Can you sign my book? That would be cool.
Yeah, being able to complete it and print it, I think that would be ideal.
Yeah, seeing video games made of it.
Video games or animations or geez, a TV series would be really great, but I'm trying to think realistically here.
Well, I can think of something that I have seen a lot of on YouTube. I would actually like to see like a little fan group voice acting for us. Like they take the pages
dub over it.
and they put it on YouTube and they fan dub it. That would be cool. I would love to see that. I would watch the heck out of that. That would be cool. I'd love to see something like that. I guess basically the answer to your question is the dream is just, make it big. Hope that, people really enjoy it and
enjoy it as much as we enjoy making it.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot of fun to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of also what I took away from all that was that you kind of just want people to enjoy Uberquest enough to do something with it, like make a thing or oh, hey, I bought the book, you want to sign it and stuff like that. So yeah, just have people enjoy it more than any other comic.
And so far so good. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. I went to 2 conventions this year. I went to MegaCon and Metrocon, both in Florida. And in Metrocon, I had a couple people walk by my table and go, "Oh, hey, I recognize that." And they came up and recognized who I was, and I was like, "Wow, that's totally surprising. I didn't know there was going to be anybody here that actually knew what we did." And so, that was really nice. That made me feel good that people do enjoy reading it, and they do enjoy meeting their creators and stuff like that. And so they were like, "That's really cool to meet you." And I was like, "Hey, have a button." we have all these buttons over here. So I gave him a little Sesame and Kibbles button. Here, I'll show him on screen. We have 3 buttons. We got a Sesame, or Claire, Sesame, and we got a Kibbles.
And you can find those at your local convention center.
Some more, huh?
I just said, and you can find them at your local convention center.
That'd be cool too, is to maybe have a bookstore hold some of our books, Yeah.
Well, now that you're finally getting one in print, the dream is not as far gone as it has been.
Yeah. But yeah, they came by and they were like, "Oh, my favorite character is so and so," and I was like, "Cool. Well, here, have a button of them." And that was pretty cool. So far so good in that regard.
Yeah. What else? What else can I come with up with on the spot? Is there any has there been any moments when creating Uberquest that stands out in your memory more than others? A positive moment in the creation.
One that stands out. I have a lot of memories, but one that stands out. Goodness.
I really liked when we were able to get more of the characters together, like more and more of the main cast coming together and interacting and stuff. So I really enjoyed the part where Sesame, Claire, and Kibbles, and did I say all their names? Sesame,
yes.
Claire. Anyways, they met Farron, and I liked when they all met Mason. And now that we're at the part of the story where everyone but Kyler is missing, so I really enjoy those parts, and finally getting to see them all come together and interact and meet each other.
I'm still thinking. A lot of the highlights for me is seeing people's comments on it whenever we upload it. Like sitting there and uploading the page and then just being on the website and going, refresh. Fresh. When's the next comic gonna be? Who's gonna come up with the next fan theory? That's a lot of the highlights for me, is seeing people's fan theories and character couplings and stuff. Even though we haven't really touched upon much romantically in the comic, a lot of people are like, this character's gonna end up with this character. Oh shit, I'm gonna ship these two. And, that's always fun to look at. So.
I think the last question, and it was one I just came up with. I've noticed there's a lot of video game references in Uberquest. Which one is your favorite? I can say already that my favorite, and I think I blew up a storm on Skype when I saw this, was when Farron goes, "Hey, hello stranger, what are you buying?" Of course, referencing the merchant from Resident Evil 4.
Right. Yeah. I'd have to say that's probably one of my favorites too. Funny enough, like we had a couple people like really angry at us for doing that one. They were like, "Wow, there's a lot of stupid references in this comic. I'm gonna stop reading this." And we were like, "Okay, I'm sorry."
I personally thought it was some of the major charm to it was all these little tweaks and.
Yeah, that's one of my more personal favorite references, but I guess things I like doing is like fitting things in the background that people really have to pay attention to look at. That's always fun to do because especially whenever you see the comic pop up and they're like, "Hey, is that a something in the background?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know that." So like a few to mention a few, like the Master Sword from Legend of Zelda in Mason's blacksmith, the Hammer Blacksmithy. What are some of your favorites?
I really like the Resident Evil 4 reference too. That was one of my favorites. I really enjoyed. I'm trying to think.
Speaking of, while she thinks about that, speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, there's another version of that called Pathfinder, and I don't think anybody's noticed, but somewhere in the comic I put the Pathfinder logo, the P from it, and I put it on a sticky note in there.
Oh.
It's hidden in the comic, and I was surprised nobody noticed because like Pathfinder is a pretty popular D&D type of thing, and I was like, somebody's got to notice this. Nobody's mentioned it yet. Now everybody's gonna go in there and be like,
go treasure hunting.
Yeah, I love putting all the little hidden things in there and having the readers like try and find it and put things together and be like, "Oh, that's this or that's this," So.
One page that had a lot of references in it was Claire's time before she got sent back.
I was just sitting here thinking about that.
There was a big scene where we had a head crab from Half-Life in a box, and we had a little a Pikachu in a jar. What else was in there? That's right. No. Okay, spoilers. That's where the Pathfinder logo is in that scene. But also on one of her monitors, monitors that's glowing green, I also put the 1-Up mushroom. But nobody mentioned that either. There's a 1-Up mushroom and a Pathfinder logo in there that nobody mentioned.
I remember sitting with you and discussing this page, and you were going, "Oh, there's this," and the one, and I missed all of that because I'm an idiot. But the one I actually caught was you had a Deus Ex reference on a Post-it.
Oh yes.
And it's so small, but I think it was because I just played Deus Ex, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. I just saw that, and I'm like, oh.
Nobody's mentioned that except for you as well. Like, you're the only one that's noticed that, the Deus Ex reference. Sometimes the references are very subtle, so I'm not surprised anybody, nobody gets them sometimes, but yeah, we like doing that. We like fitting silly little references, especially from other games, in there.
And it's also a good thing to use little plot points too. Like, you'll have just little tiny hints. Like, in one page we had Fair and Sesame, Claire and Kibbles, they were walking together, And in the background, before he was even introduced, was Mason. And then people were like, oh, you know, now they say he was in that page.
Yeah.
So just little things like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember that. Sometimes we may reference to like something that may happen like much later in the comic in page 3 or something, you know.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Also because, well, spoiler alert, one of the characters I created is actually also in the comic. I remember.
That's true. Yeah, he's drunk.
Yeah.
And leaning up against a building.
He's Danish. But I've noticed that the comic has kind of taken a departure from all these references and stuff. Is that intentional, or is it just because the focus has changed?
It's not right now it's intentional because there's not really much place to put them. Because if we suddenly decided to put a reference like on the caravan or something, it's like, where did that come from? It's just that we haven't been able to put them in any situations or any buildings or locations where we can fit in a reference that we see necessary to put in. We'll still do it. It's still something that we want to do throughout the comic. But right now, a lot of the focus has been on like the story, and right now we're doing the chase scene with Farron and Mason and Sesame Kibbles and Claire, and we just haven't thought of any places to put any references in particular right now. So
we don't want to do it like constantly, like every page or anything.
Yeah,
you don't want to force it in.
We don't want it. It would be, I don't know. I would find that kind of weird to be like flipping through a page and be like, oh hey look, there's a Master Sword. Oh and look, there's the Masamune from Final Fantasy VII. Oh look, another reference.
Yeah. It can easily get a little heavy-handed.
Yeah. So we intentionally stepped away from that for a little bit.
For a little bit, but it's not gone. It's just on hold. But yeah, I think that's all I have. Do you have anything you want to add here at the end?
Just a big thank you to all the people that have pledged and supported us on Patreon. We could not do this without your help. It's really been a dream come true being able to do the comic, and we really enjoy doing it, and we're so glad you guys enjoy reading the comic. If you haven't read it yet, you know, give it a try and let us know what you think about it. We're always welcome to more feedback and questions. And a big thank you to everyone that's helped on the Kickstarter, whether it's a mention or a pledge. You know, we're finally going to be able to print, and it's really exciting.
It's very exciting. We're very excited to have our first like physical book. It's something I've always wanted to do in my life, ever since I was teeny tiny, like young. I used to make stupid little comics that made no sense, and I always wanted to make a comic book, and I'm finally getting that dream to come true right now. So.
You actually want to show them one of your old comics?
No.
Are you sure?
No. Maybe off this interview thing, but
I've never heard
those comics were crap. They were like. They were whatever I drew in the panel, like whatever idea I thought in my head, I was like, oh, that sounds like a cool idea. Next panel.
You were just a kid.
I don't care. They sucked. They were horrible. So yeah, that's something I've always wanted to do is make a comic. I'm finally getting the opportunity now. So thank you all who have donated to our Kickstarter. As of this recording of this interview, there's still 20-something days left in the Kickstarter, and 1 week to get our goal. Blew us away, and we hope to reach some of our stretch goals. We thank everybody for all the support. Really, spread the word, help us reach some of those awesome ideas that I think you mentioned that you really liked the field guide idea.
Yeah, I really love the idea of that. Most of all because working in retail in a video game store, like collector's editions, they will always have these like little notebooks and stuff like that, and I always like you open them and they're like blank, and I'm like, oh, I really love when there's something in them and it's written as if it was a character in the video game.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do with the field guide. It's Farron's field guide. That's supposed to be written by Farron, is what it's meant to be. But yeah, so I guess that's it. So thank you, everybody. I'm trying to think of anything else. I remember in the David and Liz interview, like at the end, you said, "Is there any questions you want to ask me?" But again, the same with you. I've been talking to you for years, so there's not really many things I can think of, other than just like how has the YouTube thing been going for you since the David and Liz interview?
Wow. It has been hitting the highway. It's been going extremely fast.
And well deserved.
Thank you.
I blush.
A little bit. I remember the David and Liz interview and the whole Dreamkeepers thing was kind of a turning point for the Webcomic Relief. Most of all because it was like a silly thing I did and it was kind of fun. And then it kind of stepped up the game a little bit, and I started receiving packages. I started going a lot more into work with the reviews, and I kind of found my niche, as it were, in this whole reviewing thing. And it ended up to the point where my parents have never really given a shit about what I do. It's just like, do whatever and have fun with that. But this suddenly turned out to something where I could go, Mom, listen, man, listen, I got this drawing, and there's people who are actually fucking giving me money. Can you believe this shit? And it kind of like reached entire different heights, and it feels like within a year the entire show has stayed the same, but it has changed dramatically to. I kind of want the show to stay the same for the viewer, but behind the scenes it has just exploded. And I kind of hope that it continues doing that.
It will. Just keep doing what you're doing, because we love watching your reviews.
They're great.
They are really good, and I'm sure everybody who's watching your interview with us right now agrees, don't you?
Actually, I had a question. I was going to ask you, do you feel any different now that you have spoken with some, like you've read and spoken with the creator of some of the comics, and have you learned anything from that?
I think one of the things that has changed dramatically is that at the beginning of this whole thing, I never really saw the opportunity to make a living off of making a webcomic. I always kind of thought that it was just kind of a hobby, and you would have to read like Ryan Sommer or what's his name, the guy behind Control Alt Delete. Like, you would have to read these top 10 of the entire world webcomics to be able to make a living off of them. And I kind of been seeing that there's a lot more room, there's a lot more options to actually do this now with the whole Patreon and Kickstarter and everything like that. So I've kind of gotten a different sense of that this can be a job as well as any other job, and that has also made me really grit my teeth every time that I see people write to certain creators, like, you should get a job and something. Like, they're talking like this is not really a job, because if there's one thing I've learned from talking with you, Luke, Japan, Linda, and David and Liz Lilly, and all those other amazing artists, is that I don't think enough people understand how much shit you go through on a daily basis just to create a comic that is essentially free. And I've just gotten an entire different appreciation for webcomics as a whole.
Well, we appreciate the compliments. I'll take those that as a compliment because I mean it is pretty difficult sometimes. I mean, you think it'd be easy, being your own boss and being like, oh, I can wake up anytime I want to. I can work anytime I want to. But no, not really. You gotta treat it like a job if you want to keep going. It's pretty tough. I mean, we pay taxes just like anybody else does.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes it can be a little harder because you don't, go in and check in and have someone necessarily telling you what to do. Like you have to make sure you remember to do all these things.
Yeah, and your paycheck doesn't automatically take out, what it needs for taxes and stuff, and so we have to like pay into that ourselves. So.
I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything.
I was just gonna say, I think the playing field for comic creators has changed. Before it was like you did a webcomic and maybe you would get popular and maybe you would get like a lot of ad revenue, but now with Patreon, it's it's a lot easier for people
and we're thankful that it is easier because I mean like she said, a lot of it beforehand I think did depend on building that user base, and you did have to be in the top 10 best webcomics in order to actually get something out of it. Just technology and new innovative ideas today have made it a lot easier to do that for creators.
And if there's one thing like people can take away from this is that if you want to make a webcomic, go out there and do it. I mean, for fuck's sake, Leorian is having people pledging to his Patreon, so if he can do it, you can do it too.
Exactly. I guess you're gonna hate me for this.
Oh no.
The best advice is the best advice I can say to anybody who wants to go out there and make a webcomic or write or whatever you want to do, just do it.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Yes. Yesterday you said tomorrow. I'm sorry. I'll stop there. Thank you so much for the interview.
Right back at you.
We won't, hold you any longer.
It's actually about 7, so I have to go make dinner, as usual.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. It's been enjoyable.
And just before we wrap up, in the bottom, in the comment section, the description, there will be a URL. Thank you, Skidd. There will be a URL for both the Patreon, the webpage, and the Kickstarter. I don't do annotations. So yeah, go down there, and if you like these amazing people just as much as I do, give them some support, or at least just read the amazing comic. So yeah, thanks for talking with me, and yeah,
thank you for
good luck in the future.
Bye.
Bye.